Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Florence, and thank you, IBF, for having us here today as well. So, give me a second while I share my screen, okay? All right, so before we begin, I am going to trouble you guys to do me a very small favor. Just help me to scan the QR code or access the link that is available in the chat as well. To fill in some details, let us know a little bit more about you, and to register for this workshop or this webinar itself, this short 30-minute session, okay? So what I will be doing meanwhile, okay, is to let you know a little bit about us, a little bit about myself, okay? So my name is Maybelline. With me, I have my colleague KY as well with me, and both of us we are from the SkillsFuture Advice team in Southwest CDC. Okay, as you can see from my background itself also. Okay, so we're from the SkillsFuture Advice team out in Southwest CDC itself. So what we primarily do is we raise awareness about SkillsFuture resources available for you, and how you can use SkillsFuture to work on your professional development, or even to pursue to continue your lifelong learning journey itself. All right, so very quickly, once again, good morning. And for those of you who just joined us, do us a little favor, help us to scan the QR code or go to the link in the chat itself to fill in the information. Okay, you can click on the link in the chat. Okay, the workshop code here is SW-IBF-0408. Okay, so we'll just take a little bit of time, probably another 30 seconds or so, for you to scan the QR code. Not to worry if you missed out, okay? There is the link available on the chat as well. And feel free to type in any questions that you may have also in the Q&A segment regarding any of the things that I will be sharing with you. Okay, so let's move on here. And once again, good morning. It's a Wednesday. Today is a Wednesday, right? Yep, it's midweek, right? We're halfway through the week already, and it's going to be a short week, kind of short week. National Day is around the corner, right? And what we're going to be sharing today, okay, we're going to be talking about a little bit about the future of work, how things have changed, are changing, always changing, correct? The only thing that is really constant, it's change. That's a very famous saying that we all know, right? And what are some of these useful resources to help us to cope with this upskilling journey and also cope with all these changes itself? Okay, so before we go into that, let's talk a little bit about the world of work and how it has changed. Okay, and I believe a lot of us can relate to this as well. Okay, so there have been more and more talks, okay, about how the world is changing, how things are evolving. Some of the skill sets that we used to require are also evolving, correct? And as you can see here, okay, a skills-based future of work is one of the key trends in Singapore itself because of the need for Singapore to create workforce resilience. What is workforce resilience? Basically, it is a workforce that can withstand changes and can adapt along with all these changes as well. Okay, and by building this strong Singapore core, and this workforce resilience can only be built by building a strong Singapore core and to prepare this workforce, and which is us, right, for the future of work. So keyword here is to stay future ready. All right. And it is important as well for businesses to adapt, because businesses are going to be changing, business practices are changing, the world is changing, right? So there is a need to adapt by adopting new technology and, of course, training staff as well to adapt to all these new technology, to be skilled enough to use this technology. Okay. So as you can see, we are moving towards this skills-based future of work. And some of the skills, right, as we used to know it, okay, what we used to know, right, skills could be things like, very hard, hands-on skills, hard skills, what we call them, right? But there are also another set of skill set, okay, called the soft skills. Okay, and these are slightly more cognitive skill sets that are more cognitive, things like creativity, collaboration, adaptability. You can't exactly touch them. They are not exactly very tangible skills, correct? And these are usually the skills, like one of my partners actually told me, we were talking to one of my training providers, and she actually said, Maybelline, the funny thing is, right, soft skills, as much as it's soft, it's the hardest to learn, which I don't disagree at all, because there's nothing to first, it's non-tangible, it's very hard for us to measure, very hard for us to learn and pick up as well. But it is important, okay, to start thinking how we can incorporate all these things like creativity into our skill sets, okay, to be future ready as well. So let's talk a little bit about world of banking and how it has changed, okay? In the past, I think all of us are very familiar with having to use cash, right? We had to use cash for everything. And I don't know if you remember this, but I vividly remember, the POSB bank card being the silver one, that silver bank card, and it can only withdraw money. Basically, it has no other use but to withdraw money, right? And we also used to have to go to the machines to update our bank book as and when, so that we are updated with all the records of what we have used, how much money we have, etc. But now, right, we can pay, or most of us are using things like Pay Now, PayLah, Pay Anyone, all these apps itself, banking apps, to help us to navigate our daily finances, right? And what's most important is the phone, correct? We can leave house without anything, but we cannot leave house without a phone, because on top of the trace together thing that we have to do, correct? We can pay with our phone. We can take public transport with our phones, just by tapping. It's that simple and it's that convenient now as well. Okay, so things are changing, and you can see it's becoming more and more reliant or technology, more digitalized, I would say. Okay, more and more digitalized itself. All right. And of course, next thing is also how we work and learn, and this affects us greatly too. For myself, for example, I used to have to go to the office. I used to have to conduct these webinars in person. So I have to factor in time. I have to be there physically. I have to be there physically in the office as well. But then last year itself, something hit, right? Like the pandemic hit, we went into circuit breaker, everyone scrambled. Oh no, how am I going to move my business? How am I going to move my work online? How do we adapt to it? And frankly speaking, even for ourselves, right, we had some time getting used to it, because we're so used to being there physically and having that face-to-face communication. Then we had to pick up all these Zoom, right, all these WhatsApp, and you adopt all these technologies to make our lives a little bit easier, correct? And by today, I think most of us are already Zoom experts, WebEx experts. We can have interviews over Zoom itself. All these things can be done virtually. And hey, we realize, do we really need to be there physically? Is there really a need to be there physically all the time? Correct? So things have changed, okay? And we have, as a nation, adopted or adapted really well as well to all these change, if you realize. So if with all these changes that's happening, then how do I know what are some of the skills that I need? Okay, and this is one very important resource that I will take a little bit more time on to talk about. It's called the Skills Framework. Okay, so if you want to scan the QR code to find out what is this Skills Framework for financial services specifically, go ahead and scan it. Okay, just to let you know, this Skills Framework covers up to 23 industries itself. Okay, and it gives you very comprehensive information. So I love this resource because it helps me to plan where I want to move towards, where I want to be in the future, or if even previously when I wanted to do a switch of my job roles, and a switch of industry, I use this resource to find out, hey, what are some of the things that are required of me, and all this information. Let me show you what are some of the information that can be found. Okay. So, for example, okay, if you are looking at the financial services one, you can find most of the skills framework, they've got information on some of the desired attributes, okay, and some of the skills that are in demand. Okay, desired attributes will be things like, agility, adaptability. You have to work in a team, right? So it has to be collaborative, things like that. Okay, and skills in demand. What are some of the things that you need? For example, cybersecurity. For example, digital literacy. So if I'm someone who is not exactly the most comfortable with digital, with technology itself, okay, then what can I do, right? So this is where I can actually look at all these interesting information and then compare and measure and do a skills gap. Okay, what we call a skills gap. So what do I have? What do I not have? And we can also measure the different proficiency levels. So as you can see, financial services, right? A lot of us, we have this, or most of us, we think, I don't think it will cover that many areas in the financial services itself. But no, it covers retail banking, corporate banking, investment banking. On top of that, even, things like sales after sales and relationship management and trading and execution. Okay, so there are a lot of roles that are available, a lot of information on the roles that are available in it as well. Okay, and for example, okay, in this case, let's take an example, retail banking. Okay, so you can get an idea of what the job role description is. Okay, so for example, what are some of the things that are required of this person, the duties, the basic duties that are required. And then you can look at this is my favorite part. Okay, so remember earlier on we had the comparison, or not comparison, but the chart on the desired attributes and things like that, right? This is a more detailed one to let you know some of the skills and competencies that are required of you. Okay, so you can see it's a little bit small, but go in and download the information. But you can see some of the skills like what are some of the things that you need and the level of proficiency that you need. With there, level 4, level 3, so that we can be almost on the same page to know that, okay, I'm ready for this role itself. And if I'm not, it's okay. It's okay if I might be falling off a little bit. Not to worry. We can always take on courses. We can always upgrade ourselves by looking for different ways to upskill, to in order for us to be ready or to be there for this role itself. Okay, so this is one thing that I really appreciate about skills framework, to be honest. All right, and on top of that also, okay, it talks a little bit about the critical core skills for the future economy. Okay, and as you can tell just now, earlier on I was talking about the skills, correct? So it's a lot of things. Okay, it's a lot, like things like decision making. You have things like digital fluency, people development and all. But they've been categorized in 3 main areas. Okay, critical thinking critically, interacting with others, and staying relevant. All right, so all these information here, okay, can be found as well on the skillsfuture.gov.sg page, and you can also scan this QR code to find out a little bit more about some of the critical core skills. Okay, and before I move on, one more thing I wish to add about this skills framework as well, okay, is that there's a chart that you can actually download, and you just look through the information, download this chart, right? It basically helps you to chart your progression, and I love it because it gives you, it's a lot, okay, and it breaks it down into different areas itself. So for example, today I am in retail banking, and if I wish to move to another role, okay, to another role, how can I plan? What's the next role I can be looking out for? And if I want to move upwards, what are some of the things, or what are some of the roles that I can look up for as well? Okay, so it gives you information like that for you to chart your progression as well. Okay, and then with that, okay, let's talk a little bit about SkillsFuture then and how it can support us. So now you found out about, all the necessary things that are required from you, right? The knowledge, what are some of the skill sets you're required. So how then can SkillsFuture come in? Okay, so SkillsFuture, when we go out and we talk to people always tell us, SkillsFuture, isn't that, the $500 that you get to offset your training fees, things like that? It's not completely wrong. okay? But SkillsFuture is also so much more than that. So first, let's talk about what SkillsFuture is, okay? So SkillsFuture basically is a national movement to help Singaporeans and PR to provide them with the opportunities to develop to your fullest potential regardless of where you are, okay? Regardless of where you are. And there are three main objectives here. One is career planning, next is skills upgrading, and of course, lifelong learning. So this term lifelong learning, okay, I like to emphasize this again as well. Lifelong learning, it used to be something that, hey, if I have the time, I can perhaps consider taking something, I can put it at the back of my head for a bit. But with the way things are changing right now, lifelong learning is no longer an option. Okay, lifelong learning is something that we have to think about how we can integrate this into our life, okay, and how we can learn new things, even if it's not through the classrooms, even if it's through internet articles, videos, and all. How can we integrate this, make time for it, and to pursue this lifelong learning so that we stay future ready? Okay, so this is very important to note. So some of the useful resources here available to help you with this upskilling. Okay, we'll be talking briefly about the My SkillsFuture portal, SkillsFuture credits, very important, okay, and this thing called Skills and Training Advisory Services. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit more information on that as well. So first, let's talk a little bit about the My SkillsFuture portal. So this is basically the one-stop portal that helps you make informed decisions, okay, on learning and career choices as well as to pursue your lifelong learning. So you can scan this QR code, okay. But what are some of the things that you can actually access? One of it is this thing called the self-assessment tools, and you can find out a little bit more about yourself. So why is it important to know more about myself or yourself? Okay, people can tell us, say, hey, I really know myself very well. I've been working for such a long time. I know what kind of a person I am, etc. All right, not wrong, but it's important to be completely or to be more self-aware about who we are and what are things that matters to us. Okay, so that we can actually, move on. Okay, with thinking about how we can upskill ourselves as well. So, okay, we can find out more about ourselves by this thing called the Holland Code. Where can you find this? On the My SkillsFuture portal itself. When you go to the website, you go under resources, okay, and then you can actually find this thing called assessments, where you have access to 3 different self-assessment tools. One of it measures your career interest, which is the Holland Code. The other one measures your skills confidence, how confident you are at achieving or completing certain tasks at work. And the next is work values. Okay, so what are some of the values that matters to you? For some of us, it could be autonomy. For some of us, it could be work-life balance. Okay, all these things are good to know as well. And as with all profiling tools and self-assessment tools, use this as a guiding point, okay, not as something that you have to follow strictly, but use this as a compass for you to give you some direction into where you can look into as well. All right. So once you go in, one of the examples you get from the Holland Code is once you've completed it, you basically have the 3 alphabets here, which is your code itself, right? And this is what we call the dominant profile. And you can read up more about it from the bottom description as well. And on top of that, you can also look for courses. There are more than 20,000 courses available, okay, on the My SkillsFuture portal. And as you can tell, there are also other interesting information like industry insights and career resources, okay? But let's talk a little bit about the courses. And you can check out the portal by going to this website once again. And once you're there, right, under courses itself, you can go ahead and just type in the course subject title. Okay, remember to add in the open and close inverted commas, okay, so that it narrows the search results. And once you're there, work it like how you would, with any search page. Follow the instructions and read up and find out more about the various options available for you. So of course, how do you then stay ahead with digital economy? Okay, and how do you ensure you have the skills needed? All right. So if you feel like, hey, I'm not very comfortable with technology, I want to be more comfortable with it. I want to get a little bit of foundational training to dip my toes first. Okay, not to worry. There's something called the SkillsFuture for Digital Workplace. It's a 2-day foundational training program. Okay, for Singaporeans and PR, it's $50 net, and for NTUC members, it's $10 net. Okay, so it provides you a little bit of insights on digital literacy, and very foundational stuff. So if you know of someone who might need it as well, go ahead and take a photo of this, get them to sign up for it. It's pretty useful, okay? And next, also, we've got something called SkillsFuture series, okay? So the SkillsFuture series basically is a series of 8 emerging areas of skills, okay? So these there are courses that have been categorized into these 8 emerging areas, okay? And this, as the name suggests, emerging areas means they are going to be important, or they are already important today, okay? So if you want to, hey, fine-tune a little bit more about what some of the courses you can take, okay, especially for the financial sector. Okay, some of the courses that we have picked out, or some of the SkillsFuture series we have picked out here, includes things like cybersecurity, finance, and data analytics. Okay, so go find out a little bit more as well. So some of the suggested courses, for example, okay, it's a very long list. This is not all of it, but some examples of it. Okay, are things like data analytics, and you can see things like Python, very 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 popular word, right? Python, data mining, data analytics. Okay, and even for some data visualization. Okay, and then for the finance part, you can look at things like introduction training, trading of financial markets using technical analysis. Okay, some of the fintech stuff, and also how to make marketing or make investment work. All right, so these are some things that you can consider. But remember, this is not all. So go into the My Skills Future portal and find out more. All right. Okay, and some of the fast facts about the SkillsFuture credits, okay? So a lot of us know SkillsFuture credits as a $500 one, but why was it given to us? It is basically to strengthen our ownership of skills development and lifelong learning. Okay, for us to take charge. Who is it for? It's for Singaporeans aged 25 and above. Where can I utilize it? Of course, you can utilize it on the My SkillsFuture portal itself. And how do I go about utilizing it? You can use it by logging in with your SingPass, okay? And what is it? Okay, basically it is the opening credit of $500. And last year itself, there has been a one-off SkillsFuture credit top-up of $500 for all SkillsFuture credits eligible courses. And for people who are 40 to 60 years old in 2020, okay, there is an additional credit for mid-career support, which can be used for selected courses, okay, in the My SkillsFuture portal itself. All right, so these top-ups, okay, will expire on 31st December 2025. Okay, so if you have not used it, strongly encourage you to think about something that you want to touch on, you want to use, and you can actually take action. All right. And last but not least, we've got this thing called the Skills and Training Advisory Services. So if you're still unsure, like you tell me, oh my goodness, there are so many things. How am I going to, find out what exactly is good for me? Okay, there is also the option to go for the Skills and Training Advisory Services. Okay, it's basically a one-to-one personalized consultation with a skills ambassador to talk a little bit about your skills and training needs, and also if you need to support career transition or career progression. All right, so you can scan the QR code or give a call, okay, to check out and find out a little bit more.